If money isn't moving, it's not because heaven is closed, it's because your mouth is. You're not waiting on a paycheck, a breakthrough, or a lucky turn. You're waiting on your own voice to remember its power. Most people don't realize they've been cursing their money every day with casual worry, careless words, and silent agreement with fear. They say, "I'm broke," and wonder why the drought continues. They say, "I hope something shifts," and block the very shift they seek. But I tell you now, with the force of divine law behind every syllable, your financial condition is the visible echo of your invisible decree. Money does not follow effort. Money follows speech. The only reason you still feel bound is because you've never risen and said, with boldness and breath and fire, "I am rich because I say so." That is not a fantasy. That is not a lie. That is law. Spoken, enforced, eternal. And for the next 12 days, you will speak it until every wall breaks and every locked gate swings open, not because you earned your way through, but because you commanded the door. The moment you begin to argue with your own good, you have already agreed with delay. And delay is not a condition of the spirit, it is a creation of human logic. Human logic, that old deceiver, will say, be reasonable, be realistic, be careful, be cautious. And all the while divine law stands ready to pour out a blessing so rich, it will shake the walls of your limited understanding, waiting only for your voice to permit it, for your decree to authorize it, for your words to unlock what is already held for you in the invisible. Let me speak plainly. Human reason is the great robber of divine riches. It calculates, it doubts, it shrinks, and it postpones. It says, "Let me wait until I see more." But the law says, "Speak, and then you shall see." You have been taught that money comes by toil, by strategy, by budgeting. And while these things may serve a system, they do not serve the spirit, for the spirit does not operate in fractions or formulas, but in full release through unwavering declaration. Let me remind you of the widow of Zarephath, that lone woman with only a handful of meal and a little oil, whom the prophet Elijah instructed to bake him a cake first, to give from her lack as if it were abundance. And what did she do? She obeyed the voice, and the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, because she obeyed not logic, but law. And I say to you now, when you give the word first place, supply cannot withhold itself. It cannot delay. It cannot resist, for it is bound to appear. And yet how many today speak of savings but not of speech, of interest rates but not of inner decree? They plan 1,000 human things and neglect the one divine thing that actually moves money. So I ask you, what would happen if, for 12 days, you silenced the logic that starves and opened your mouth in faith that feeds? What if every time fear said, "Hold on tight," you replied, "I release with joy, and I receive with grace"? What if instead of negotiating with your past, you announced your future aloud? I tell you truly, all of heaven would break loose. The angels of provision would rush to attend your word. And the windows of supply, which never closed from above, only from your own agreement with delay, would swing wide to the shout of your voice. Say it now, and say it without apology. I give thanks that divine supply now bursts through the walls of human doubt. And watch, with holy certainty, as something in your atmosphere begins to shift. There is no space in the spiritual realm for contradiction to remain. Own vibration must displace the other. One belief must override the former. One word must substitute the word that came before it. And if you have spoken lack for years, for decades, for generations handed down through lineage and repetition and casual curses dressed up as conversation, then you must now take the holy scalpel of truth and begin to carve a new groove in the mind, in the mouth, in the air around you. For you cannot say, "I am broke," and then wonder why wealth flees. You cannot say, "Nothing ever works out for me," and expect the heavens to nod in agreement. You cannot echo fear and then demand miracles. No, my friend, divine law will not be mocked, for it only fulfills what is spoken with conviction, whether it be the curse of poverty or the crown of plenty. And therefore you must choose, you must replace, you must rise and say, "I substitute the lie with the law, the fear with the flame, the beggar's moan with the billionaire's decree. Do not think this is semantics, this is surgery of the soul, and many a life has been rescued not by toil, not by talent, not by timing, but by the simple yet unshakable substitution of one phrase for another, by the shift from "I can't" to "it is done," from "I lack" to "I overflow," from "there's never enough" to "my storehouse is full." This is not flattery. This is not fantasy. This is force, a spiritual force that dissolves delay and summons the seen from the unseen. Florence once said, "Man must prepare for the thing he has asked for, though he sees no sign of it." And I add to her truth, man must speak for the thing he has asked for, though he feels no belief yet stirring. For the voice, when saturated in rhythm and faith, will shape the atmosphere faster than the mind can comprehend, and what was once invisible becomes inevitable when the law is spoken with reverence and certainty. So if your pockets are empty, your debt rising, your stomach twisting, and your hope shrinking, now is the hour to lift your tongue out of the dust and proclaim what heaven has already written in your name. For no one can declare your wealth for you, and no one can substitute your speech for you, and no one can override the creative power of your decree except you. Say now, aloud, and say it like thunder that refuses to be silenced. I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. Say it until the shadow leaves. Say it until the lie shatters. Say it until the inner world breaks open with oil. Because this is how the law works, not by wish, not by weeping, but by substitution. And the moment you choose truth, and speak it without compromise, the false word dies, and a new world begins. The world you walk in tomorrow begins with the word you speak before you rise today. For the spiritual realm does not operate on clocks and calendars, but on confession, on the invisible tone that sets the day's weather long before your feet touch the ground. Most souls wake up and reach first for their phones, their fears, their schedules, or their complaints, and so their mornings are pre-programmed by the residue of the night, the doubts of yesterday, the echoes of bills, problems, deadlines, and dread. But I tell you now by divine authority that your first word is your first wave, your first swing of the spiritual scepter, and if you do not seize the throne of your morning with a royal tongue, then the day will be hijacked by every wandering thought and every unguarded phrase, until you find yourself living not from spirit, but from circumstance. Florence Scovel Shinn knew the power of the morning decree, for she taught that the first moments after waking are the most fertile. They are the garden gates of the soul, and if you plant truth in them, the whole day blooms in harmony. There was once a woman, weary and burdened with debts, who came to Florence with a spirit sagging from despair. She had tried praying, she had tried hustling, she had tried complaining, but still the checks did not come. Florence gave her only one instruction: say this upon waking, before speaking to anyone, before opening your mouth for anything else. This is a perfect day. Miracles now unfold in divine order. Unexpected money flows to me now, and the woman obeyed not with emotion, not with full belief, but with exactness. She repeated it day after day. And on the fifth morning, before noon had struck, a letter arrived containing a check she had long given up on, a refund from years before, now released by mysterious channels. The woman wept not because of the money, but because the decree had broken her disbelief. Let this be your law. The first words you speak are the throne or the trap. Do not speak of bills, of pain, of another hard day. No. Say instead what heaven is already holding for you in the unseen. Declare what your spirit longs for, but your logic resists. Say, I walk into favor. Today is wrapped in divine provision. My supply precedes my step. Do not let your bank balance speak louder than your soul. Do not let the news outrun your prophecy. Do not let the mirror or the mailbox or the memory choose your vibration. You are not here to echo reality. You are here to issue it. And hear me well, the tongue holds time. Your first word calls the day. Your first sentence calls the harvest. Your first declaration either builds the mansion of wealth or the prison of panic. You are not broke, you are just misprogrammed. So, reprogram with boldness, reprogram with command, Reprogram with morning fire. Say now, before another moment passes, "This is a perfect day. I am perfectly provided for. The perfect substance flows to me from perfect channels, in perfect ways under grace." Say it again. And tomorrow, say it first. And the day after, say it with breath and belief and rhythm. Because when your first word is aligned, the rest must obey. There is a spiritual oil, invisible to the eye but known in the realm of miracles, and it is the oil of expectancy, subtle, fragrant, and potent. It begins to flow the moment you stop speaking from fear and begin speaking from faith. Not faith in struggle or delay or grinding toil, but faith in divine timing, in divine law, in the exact orchestration of heaven's supply to match your spoken decree. For just as the widow poured oil into empty vessels at the prophet's command and watched the miracle of multiplication unfold not by effort, but by obedience and expectancy, so too must you begin your 12-day practice with the sacred posture of one who prepares for what has not yet arrived, as if it is already on the way, because expectancy is not hope, it is authority waiting with open arms. I tell you boldly, the ones who receive are not the ones who plead, or pace, or panic. The ones who receive are the ones who prepare the room, set the table, open the window, and light the candle, as if the guest is already at the door, and that guest is called wealth, and that guest is called overflow, and that guest is called more than enough. And the only requirement for its entry is not proof or evidence or reason, but your verbal alignment with its name. For words are vessels, and if you speak empty words filled with fear, you invite delay, but if you speak full words anointed with oil, you invite divine speed. So on this first day, you say this not because you see it, but because you choose to see beyond what is. I expect lavish abundance, for I live in a rich, friendly universe. I expect divine provision, for my words are anchored in truth. I expect the door to open, for I have already knocked with my decree. Say it slowly, like oil being poured. Say it rhythmically, like waves returning to shore. Say it with the certainty that every atom in the universe hears you, and that money, opportunity, favor, and form are not things you chase, but things that are magnetized to your frequency the moment your frequency becomes lawful. Do not let the eyes distract you. Do not let the account deceive you. Do not let logic silence your decree. Because on this first day, you are not waiting for signs, you are speaking as the sign. You are not observing conditions, you are commanding them. You are not whispering into a void, you are declaring into a living field of divine responsiveness. Your word is the oil. Your expectancy is the wick. Your wealth is the flame. And when they meet in one holy moment of speech, the miracle is not delayed, it is released. So I say again, speak it. I expect lavish abundance, for I live in a rich, friendly universe. Say it as if the oil has already begun to flow. Say it as if God is nodding. Say it until the air around you shifts. Say it, and say it again. This is day 1. Let the oil run. On this second day, let us confront the most subtle fear that haunts the financially weary soul, not the fear of lack alone, but the fear that what has come in will vanish, that what has been given will be taken away, that what has filled your hand today will disappear tomorrow. For the mind trained by materialism knows how to receive with hesitation and spend with dread, always anticipating the bottom to drop, always watching the numbers shrink, always fearing that the well will dry again. But I tell you, this is not how the Spirit gives, and it is not how the Spirit sustains. For the wealth of God is not like the wealth of man. It does not deplete, it does not expire, and it is not subject to digits, markets, or mental calculations. For spirit is circulation, not subtraction, and divine supply flows not through balance sheets, but through the bloodstream of the spoken word. There was a woman once who came to me with trembling in her voice and trembling in her account. Their bank balance was low, her faith was lower, and she said, "Florence, I have just enough for rent and food. If I pay the bill, my purse will be empty." And I looked at her and said, "Then let the purse be spiritual, and it shall never be empty again." For I reminded her that the purse in the physical is only a picture, a mirror, a representation, but the purse in spirit, when governed by law, when spoken over in truth, when held in expectancy and not in fear, is never empty, never lacking, never without replenishment, because the purse of spirit is the purse of principle, and principle never runs out. So she spoke these words with trembling lips that grew stronger with every breath. As money goes out, money flows in. My purse is always filled. My purse is always full. And I tell you, by the end of that week, her purse had not only been refilled, it had overflowed. A refund appeared. A forgotten debt was repaid. A stranger blessed her with an unexpected gift. Why? Because she stopped clutching a dying purse and began speaking to a living one. She stopped thinking about how little she had and started commanding the law of divine circulation to do what it always does: return multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So today, on day 2, you will not beg the purse to last. You will bless the purse to expand. You will not stare at the ledger and weep. You will speak to the purse and declare. You will not say, I only have this much, but you will say, as money goes out, money flows in. My purse is always filled. My purse is always full. You will treat the act of spending not as a subtraction, but as a signal to the universe that you are ready for more, that you trust the divine economy, that you are no longer a slave to numbers but a speaker of law. And if fear arises, because it will if that shadow of panic whispers, what if it doesn't come back? You will answer not with logic, not with spreadsheets, but with this declaration: my purse is not paper. My purse is not leather. My purse is spirit. My purse is law. My purse is infinite. Say it until you believe it. Say it until the shadow flees. Say it until the purse sings. This is not fantasy, it is faith aligned with frequency, and frequency governs form. Today, you release the fear of the purse. Today, you step into the flow of the eternal. Today, you bless the outflow and welcome the inflow. Today, you speak like one whose purse can never run dry. Let the circulation begin. On this third day, we confront the memory of loss, the echo of theft, the phantom pain of something that felt stolen money, that vanished without explanation, opportunity that passed through your fingers like vapor, inheritance that never reached your hands, clients that disappeared, jobs that dissolved, years you call wasted, accounts that dried up, relationships that were tethered to finances and then torn apart, all of it folding into the story you carry, like a sack of invisible weight. I lose things, I lose people, I lose money, but I declare to you now, by the light of spiritual law and the fire of the spoken word, there is no loss in divine mind, for the infinite does not subtract, it multiplies, it does not forget, it restores, it does not take, it teaches. And everything that has ever seemed lost can be summoned again through the gates of alignment, through the portal of speech, through the mouth of one who knows their covenant with eternal supply has never been broken. I once spoke with a man whose business had collapsed. He used the words ruined, destroyed, lost everything, and I listened not to his despair but to the spell he was speaking, the enchantment he was weaving with every syllable that reinforced lack, reinforced grief, reinforced finality. And I said, do you know what you're doing? You're not just remembering your loss, you're preserving it. You're embalming it with your voice. And I handed him this declaration like a sword forged in spiritual flame. I deny loss. Nothing can be taken from me that belongs to me by divine right. And he repeated it at first, with resistance, then with resolve, and then one morning with radiant, unshakable clarity, and within weeks, not only had a new business idea come, but investors, customers, even former competitors, returned with new offers. The so-called loss was revealed as redirection. The collapse was revealed as construction. The breakdown was the blueprint. So today, your assignment is not to explain your losses, not to tally them like wounds, not to tell the world how you've been wronged. Your assignment is to deny them as final reality, to renounce the illusion that anything that was truly yours could have ever escaped your orbit. For what is yours by spiritual law cannot be stolen, cannot be dissolved, cannot be held from you by delay. deception, or denial. What is yours eternally, but it responds only to speech that matches its frequency, and that frequency is faith. You will speak this today, and you will speak it not to impress God, for God is not withholding, but to impress your subconscious, which has been carved by repetition of lack. I deny loss. I deny separation. I deny ruin. I affirm the full restoration of every dollar, every opportunity, every open door that is mine by divine right. I am not trying to get it back. I am commanding it into view. You will walk your home declaring restoration. You will look at old bank statements not to mourn them but to reverse them. You will open your mouth in the place where you once wept and say, "Nothing is missing, nothing is lost. I now reclaim it all through spiritual authority." And if the feeling of grief clings to your heart, if your chest tightens with the memory of something that once was, you do not suppress it, you speak over it, speak through it. Speak until the vibration of your voice melts the false belief that anything real can ever leave you. For spirit holds no lack, and in spirit, your good is not behind you, it is beside you waiting to be called. Call it now. Speak it now. Deny the lie of loss, and you will see the floodgates of divine compensation swing wide. This is the law. This is the promise. This is day 3. Let the restoration begin. You have been taught to tithe from your wallet, from your labor, from your storehouse, but I tell you now, the most sacred tithe is not the 10th you give in coin, it is the 10th you give in sound, the tithe of the tongue, the first fruits of your speech, the offering of your words unto the law that governs wealth. For there is a giving of money that springs from fear, but the giving of praise is pure, untainted by calculation, untouched by control. It is the most spiritual currency you own, and it multiplies faster than gold because it bypasses appearance and speaks directly to the throne room of substance. Before you open your email, before you check your account, before you utter your first need, I charge you by the law of divine increase. Let your tongue tithe. Let your mouth send an offering to the invisible. Let the first sound from your lips be not worry or request, but a resounding thank you that echoes like thunder in the halls of divine release. You see, most people speak their pain in the morning. They rise and rehearse yesterday's limitations. They greet the dawn with dread, and then they wonder why the day withholds its favor. But I tell you the truth. Every hour you enter was already shaped by what you said at sunrise. And if you will give God the first 10th of your day with your praise, if you will sow into spirit with exaltation instead of hesitation, if you will speak favor before you see favor, then favor must bow to your command. For praise is the language of dominion. Praise is not a soft whisper, it is a decree that says, I trust what I cannot see. I magnify what is already mine. I welcome the wealth that walks with me, though it is not yet in my hand. And the law is exact. What you praise multiplies, and what you curse diminishes. If you praise fear, it increases. If you praise lack, it lingers. But if you praise supply, if you exalt provision, if you speak well of the divine economy before it manifests in your pockets, then your pockets must respond, because the tongue holds the key to the treasury. So today, your practice is sacred and simple. Speak 10 praises before you speak 1 petition. Before you ask, adore. Before you plead, proclaim. Say aloud, I praise the riches of heaven now pouring through my channels. I give thanks that supply is eternal and customized for me. I magnify the wealth of the Spirit that never runs dry. I rejoice in the divine law that funds me in full. I glorify the unseen substance becoming seen today. I celebrate the money I do not yet touch but already trust. I bless every avenue through which increase shall arrive. I lift up my voice in victory before I count the evidence. I honor the spiritual system that cannot fail. I delight in the overflow that has already been decreed. And then, when your heart is full and your tongue is tuned to truth, speak what you need and watch how it comes, not with striving, but with speed. Florence said it clearly, God is my instant and eternal supply. Not my delayed supply. Not my conditional supply. Not my supply when the market agrees, or the job is stable, or the math makes sense. Instant and eternal. But your access to this instant supply is not through mental strain, it is through verbal praise. So lift your tithe now, not from your bank but from your spirit. Pay God in gratitude. Pay truth in thanksgiving. Pay the law with your joy. And you will see what no effort could purchase, what no strategy could unlock, what no spreadsheet could calculate: divine, multiplied, irreversible increase. Speak your tithe, and you will never be broke again. Speak your tithe, and the windows of heaven will swing open before your next sentence ends. Speak your tithe, and watch what happens when your praise becomes the password. This is day 4. Speak like one who knows the vault is already open. There are no blocked doors in spirit-only blocked speech. There are no closed channels in the divine mind-only mouths that have forgotten how to command, how to instruct, how to declare with unwavering alignment the holy truth of supply already prepared, already appointed, already flowing beneath the crust of appearances, already flooding toward the one who dares to remove their trust from the visible and place it where all things begin, in the unseen, the unmeasured, the unhurried abundance of divine law. You must understand this clearly, or you will keep looking at one door and calling it your source. You will fix your gaze on one employer, one business, one stream of income, and think it is your life raft, your safety net, your hope, but that is idolatry masked as realism, and it will trap your supply within the cage of human logic. There is only one source, and it is infinite, and it is spiritual, and it is creative, and it opens doors no man can shut, and it moves through avenues you have not yet conceived, through people you've never met, through systems you don't even know exist. There was once a woman who came to me, distressed because she had lost her job and believed her financial life had ended. She could not see any other door. She had placed her faith in the position, not the principle. But I said to her, "You are not funded by a paycheck. You are funded by law. You are not kept by a contract, you are kept by the word. Speak not of your job as your source. Declare instead, 'Divine channels open to me now, expected and unexpected.'" And she did. She said it through her tears. She said it though her bank account mocked her. She said it with trembling voice, but a determined spirit. And in less than a week, her former colleague called with a new opportunity, a higher salary, and an agreement made entirely on her terms, not because she hustled, not because she proved herself, but because she shifted the source in her mouth. What you call its source, or channel, determines what it can do for you. Call it your source, and it will own you. Call it your channel, and it will serve you. So this is day 5, and this is your declaration, not whispered, but sent with command. Divine channels open to me now, expected and unexpected. Say it again. Divine channels open to me now, expected and unexpected. Again. Divine channels open to me now, expected and unexpected. Let your breath match the rhythm of certainty. Let your tone carry the fragrance of divine trust. Let every syllable be a shovel, breaking the hard ground of resistance. And now, if you dare take the invisible and make it visible, let go of one false source today. Release one relationship, one strategy, one mental fixation that you've been clutching as if it were God. Hand it back to the universe and say, "This was never my source. I release it now, and I open myself to the miracle I did not see coming." Florence said, "No man gives to me but God, and he uses many channels. So widen the gate, loosen your grip, speak like one who knows the river bends in your favor. There are channels in motion right now. There are forces aligning at this very moment. And all they require to break through is a mouth that no longer doubts, no longer fixates, no longer binds the flow with human obsession. Speak your supply free. Declare your channels open. This is not fantasy, this is law. You are not broke, you are misaligned. Speak, and the channels break open. Speak, and the storehouses begin to empty their contents into your life. Speak, and let heaven pour through unexpected vessels. Day 5 has come, and so has your flow. You have begged from the world long enough, pleaded with people who could not see your worth, adjusted your value to fit systems that were never designed for your liberation, traded dignity for just enough to survive, when all along you had access to a treasury that never runs dry, a vault that opens not by petition, not by performance, but by pronouncement. The bank of the universe is not a metaphor. It is not poetic language to soothe the soul. It is the literal spiritual law by which the invisible substance of God becomes tangible form. And it is governed not by time, not by economy, not by labor, but by the tongue of the one who knows their name, their inheritance, and their authority in Christ. You are not a borrower of lack. You are not an observer of fortune. You are not a subordinate to chance. You are a divine account holder, a rightful heir of eternal supply. And it is time you learn to make your withdrawal with spiritual boldness, not financial fear. There was a woman who needed $2,000 by the end of the week. The facts said it was impossible. Her business had gone quiet. Her clients had fallen away. Her bank account was silent. And yet, her soul was loud with truth. She did not ask. She did not weep. She did not wring her hands. She stood still. She aligned. And she spoke the words that opened the treasury. I make my withdrawal from the Universal Bank now. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels more believable. Now. She said it again and again, not as a mantra but as a spiritual command, not as a wish but as a witness of divine law in motion. And in the days that followed, a client from a year before reached out with a deposit. A debt she had forgotten was repaid. A stranger offered her a gift, and the exact amount needed arrived not in pieces, but in fullness, not through toil, but through timing governed by the word. Do you see? The withdrawal is not made through striving. It is made through speech. So on day 6, I ask you, what are you withdrawing? What are you declaring into form? What is the figure, the provision, the opportunity, the opening you are now ready to receive, not by logic, but by law? Say it aloud. I make my withdrawal from the Universal Bank now. Again. I make my withdrawal from the Universal Bank now. One more time. I make my withdrawal from the Universal Bank now. Let every word ring with conviction. Let every breath carry finality. This is not an attempt. This is a transaction. And to seal it, take out a piece of paper, yes. Know and write down what you are withdrawing. Write the amount. Write the description. Write the need as if it were already met. Then sign your name at the bottom and declare, this is my spiritual deposit slip. I expect it to clear. The world may scoff, the natural mind may laugh, but the substance of spirit listens to command, not consensus. Money does not move for desperation, it moves for decree. The bank of the universe does not require collateral, it responds to consciousness. You are not speaking into the void, you are instructing divine supply. And as surely as you speak, it begins to gather, to form, to press into manifestation with grace, with precision, and with perfect divine order. The door is open, the vault is responding, the funds are prepared, and your name is already on the envelope. Speak now, declare now, believe now, because day 6 has arrived and heaven is listening. There is a moment in the life of every soul where giving feels like a gamble, where the instinct to hold tight battles the invitation to open wide, where fear says, keep it, and spirit says, release it. And it is in that very moment that the entire spiritual economy watches and waits, not because your giving earns divine favor, but because your trust reveals your frequency, and your frequency determines your harvest. You see, when the world speaks of return, it speaks in percentages, interest rates, and compound yield, but when the soul speaks under divine law, it speaks of the thousandfold, the supernatural multiplication that flows not from mathematics, but from the mystery of spirit, not from saving, but from surrender. Florence told the story of a woman who gave her last blessed dollar and declared, "This dollar is blessed and returns to me multiplied." And it did, not in tenfold, not in 100-fold, but in 1,000-fold. $1, spoken over with truth, returned as 1,000, not because of logic, but because of law. And now, Here you are standing at the threshold of your own multiplication, looking at what little you have, wondering if it's too small to matter, too late to multiply, too far from the need you face. But I tell you now, your harvest does not respond to amount, responds to alignment. It responds to speech. It responds to blessing. Do not curse the small in your hand. Do not mock the size of your seed. Bless it. Speak over it. Declare its return. Take $1 or one coin, or one man say aloud, "This is the seed of divine multiplication. It is blessed, and it returns to me multiplied, under grace, in perfect ways." Say it with your eyes closed. Say it as if your ancestors can hear. Say it until the spirit within agrees. You are not just giving $1, you are giving voice to a new economy. You are announcing to the universe that you are no longer in covenant with scarcity. You are no longer obeying the fear of not enough. You are sowing into the law of abundance, and that law is unfailing. There is no loss in divine law. There is only movement, circulation, return. What goes out must come back greater. What you bless, blesses you. What you declare, declares back to you. And so on day 7, you do not give like the world gives. You give like one who knows the thousandfold is not a metaphor. It is a manifestation. Speak it aloud. What I give returns to me multiplied. What I release returns to me richly. I give as one who never lacks. I sow as one who always reaps. I bless this $1, and it returns as overflow. And after you say it, release it. Give it. Don't look for applause. Don't explain yourself. Just let it go with a holy reverence, like a prophet releasing fire from the mountaintop, like a king sending a royal envoy, like a priest placing gold on the altar. You are not letting go, you are launching. You are not losing, you are aligning. You are not giving away, you are commanding back. 12 days, 12 declarations, 12 deposits into the spiritual vault. And this is the midpoint, the pivot, the holy hinge where everything changes, because now the seed has left your hand, and the law begins to run toward you like the rain that cannot be recalled, like the tide that answers the moon, like the blessing that overtakes the obedient. Do not wonder. Do not worry. Do not watch the ground. Just water with faith. Speak with fire. Walk like it's already returned, because it has. It is done. It is moving. It is yours. Say it again. This $1 is blessed and returns to me multiplied. That is your vow. That is your victory. That is day 7, and the thousandfold begins now. There comes a point in spiritual maturity when one must choose between the appearance and the word, between what eyes report and what the soul declares, between the hollow echo of circumstance and the resounding command of divine law. And this is that, day 8. The turning point where you stop bowing to what looks real and start standing in what is real. For appearance is illusion dressed in evidence, and the only way it survives is if you speak as if it's true. But once your tongue refuses to agree, once you stop giving power to lack by describing it, rehearsing it, honoring it with your emotional allegiance, once you withdraw your words from the court of the counterfeit, the appearance begins to dissolve like fog at sunrise, because your speech no longer sustains it, your faith no longer funds it, and your agreement no longer gives it life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught this truth with exactness. Never speak of lack, even in jest, for every word has a vibration and brings what it affirms into form. And so today, your task is simple, sacred, and fierce. Deny the appearance. Now, this is not denial in the modern, psychological sensate, is not avoidance, it is not suppression, it is not wishful thinking, it is spiritual authority, it is metaphysical dominion, it is the refusal to treat illusion as truth, the holy resistance to anything unaligned with divine substance. If your bank account says lack, you say abundance. If the bills say not enough, you say more than enough. If the world says you're falling behind, you say I am divinely timed and fully funded. You do not argue with the shadow, you outshine it. You do not explain your way through appearances, you erase them with your declaration. You do not panic at the wave, you walk upon it. Today, I want you to take 3 lies you've spoken, 3 phrases of poverty you've whispered in fear or frustration, and write them down. Perhaps you've said, "I'll never get ahead," or "Money always runs out," or "No matter how hard I try, it's never enough." Write them, look at them, and then say this aloud. These words are dead to me. They have no life, no law, no legacy. I revoke them in the name of divine truth. Then burn them, tear them, bury them, flush them. Erase them with action, not just intention. For today you are not just shifting your speech, you are severing your allegiance to the appearance. You are divorcing the old economy and entering the kingdom of supply. And once you've broken the contract with falsehood, speak this declaration with holy defiance, with rhythm in your chest and command in your tongue. I walk in unseen abundance, therefore I laugh at appearances. My eyes do not define my wealth. My spirit does. My truth does. My decree does. What I see today is temporary, but what I speak is eternal, and what I speak must come to pass. Say it again. Say it slow. Say it with your spine straight and your jaw unclenched, because the lie only lived because you kept feeding it with fear. But now you speak like one who knows their authority. Now you speak like one who does not flinch at temporary facts. Now you speak like one who stands in truth regardless of evidence. And the universe responds not to your worry, but to your word. This is day 8. The day you deny the illusion. The day you break the spell of what seems real and enter the frequency of what is real. From this moment forward, every time appearance whispers a contradiction, you answer with truth, not once, not twice, but every time, for this is not performance, it is protection, it is power, it is practice. And soon, what you speak will be all that remains. The illusion will fall, the substance will appear. And you will say, I remember the lie, but I did not let it live. That is your power, that is your wealth, that is your word. Speak it, hold it, refuse anything else, and laugh. For abundance is now. There is a moment in every soul's awakening when the scattered threads of seeming confusion begin to braid themselves into a golden cord, and the pattern that once seemed chaotic reveals its sacred symmetry, and the delays that once felt like punishment unveil themselves as divine positioning. And this is that moment day. 9th, the day you no longer question the twists and turns, the detours and pauses, the closed doors and sudden shifts, but instead you step into the revelation that your life is not random, your purpose is not postponed, and your supply is not missing it, is merely aligning itself with the divine design of your soul, a design that knows exactly what you need, exactly when, and exactly how to deliver it the moment you speak in harmony with it, not in resistance to it, for your wealth was never lost, only waiting for you to speak in rhythm with your own blueprint. You see, so many walk through life as if they are chasing something outside of them, striving to earn what was already etched into their spirit, begging for opportunities that were born within them, asking for confirmation when they were sent here as the answer. And it is this backward energy, this frantic attempt to force the unfolding, that creates confusion and collapses clarity. But when you speak from your design, you do not chase, you attract. You do not hustle, you harmonize. You do not panic, you pronounce. You begin to walk not just as a person in the world, but as a word spoken by God Himself, sent to manifest wealth, not to wish for it. Florence said it best. There is a divine design for each man. There is a place he is to fill and no one else can fill. Something he is to do, which no one else can do. Your supply is tied to that place, that purpose, that designment. The moment you say yes to it, your voice becomes the magnet for everything it requires. So today, I want you to declare alignment. Not with the world's demands, not with your old expectations, but with your inner architecture, the spiritual pattern written before time that calls you to a specific expression, a sacred work, a rightful reward. I want you to tune the violin of your destiny, not by straining, but by speaking, not by mimicking others, but by announcing what has always been yours. Speak this with full alignment, I now step into the divine design of my life. I do not delay it. I do not doubt it. I do not distract from it. I speak it forth, I walk its path, and I receive its full reward. My supply, my clients, my creativity, my calling all arise now because I arise in truth. I speak from my place, and my place speaks back with increase. This is not just a prayer. This is a re-entry. You are stepping back into the current of divine precision, where nothing is wasted, no season is forfeit, and every experience becomes fuel for prosperity when spoken through the lens of alignment. Even your losses will bow. Even your mistakes will reroute themselves into miracles. Even your confusion will collapse into clarity. Because when you say, divine design, I agree. The entire universe seen and unseen shifts to support your path, fund your function, and crown your speech with supply. So walk today not as someone trying to figure it all out, but as someone whose wealth is already scripted, whose prosperity is already printed in the heavens, and whose tongue is the only key left to turn. Speak as if heaven wrote your name on the blueprint of success because it did. Declare it, live it, trust it. And let day 9 mark the hour you stopped doubting the design and started declaring it into manifestation. There is a sacred truth hidden beneath the noise of doubt and the chatter of delay, and that truth is this: your good is not behind you, your good is not being withheld from you. Your good is not something you must plead for or persuade God to send. Your good has always been ahead of you, waiting patiently for your voice to catch up with your divine identity, for your speech to match the inheritance that was written in your name before you even formed words, for your vibration to rise high enough to see the blessings already walking toward you at full speed. And when you truly understand this, you stop panicking, you stop grasping, you stop trying to force the doors open, and instead, you become a revealer, a speaker, a declarer who says with holy boldness and perfect faith, my good is already on its way to me, and I am now walking fast enough to meet it. So many spend their days begging for breakthroughs, begging for bills to be paid, begging for peace to descend. But begging is the language of delay, the vocabulary of disempowerment. And as long as your mouth repeats the mantra of lack, your feet will stay slow, your heart will stay heavy, and your miracles will feel like mirages in the distance. But oh, the moment you shift your tongue, the moment you begin to speak not as one abandoned but as one appointed, not as one searching but as one already spoken for, not as one lost but as one aligned, that is the moment your reality bends to the truth you've finally dared to declare. That is the moment the energy of all your delayed blessings rushes forward to meet you. That is the moment when divine compensation overtakes you like a tide too strong to resist, and suddenly what once seemed impossible is standing before you, dressed in the form of favor, clothed in the fabric of abundance, marked with your name in heaven's ink. So let me tell you this: your good is not confused. It is not trapped. It is not being kept from you by the stars or the system or some secret karmate. Is simply on its own divine track, following the path carved by your own declarations, and it has been marching toward you since the moment you said yes to truth, since the moment your heart believed for better, since the moment your voice first trembled with the phrase, I am rich in divine substance. And today, on day 10, you stop walking like someone trying to get lucky, and you start speaking like someone catching up to their own prophecy. There was once a woman, Florence tells us, who had lost everything: her home, her money, her family's trust, and she was living out of borrowed rooms and bruised dreams, until one day, in the quiet of her brokenness, she declared, I do not chase what is minute chases me. My good is appointed. I now move in step with the supply that knows my name. And that very week, she was nudged by nothing more than a divine whisper to walk into a hotel lobby. She had no business entering. To sit on a couch she could not afford to stay near. And while there, she was spotted by an old friend who offered her a room, a job, and a fresh beginning, all because her faith outran her fear, her speech outshouted her circumstance, and her yes met its mirror in the form of supernatural supply. So today, I want you to say this not as poetry, not as metaphor, not as empty hope, but as covenant, as command. as holy reminder that you were never abandoned, only momentarily slowed by false speech. My good rushes toward me, and I am wide awake to receive it. Every step I take is in sync with divine supply. I do not miss. I do not doubt. I do not delay. I arrive because I declare. Say it in the morning. Say it before sleep. Say it while you walk, while you dress, while you move through the routines of daily life, and as you do, your speech will speed up your timeline, your words will call in what your hands couldn't grasp, and your life will begin to look like the kingdom you've been speaking all along. This is the power of day 10. The realization that what's meant for you has been running ahead of you, clearing the path, preparing the table, and all you had to do was speak fast enough to catch it. Let your tongue catch up to your future. Let your voice run ahead of your doubt. Let your word unlock what your waiting never could. Speak and walk and receive. Your good is not coming. Your good is here. Say so, keep pace, and never stop declaring what's already yours. There is a voice within you that has never been afraid, a voice that has never been in lack, never once negotiated with fear, never begged for bread, never adjusted its volume to fit the room, never asked the economy for permission to be rich, never once checked a bank account before speaking a blessing, never doubted that the supply was already here, and that the only delay was in the alignment of the speaker and. That voice is not your personality, not your ego, not your upbringing, not your past, not your trauma, not your logic, not your doubt, not your learned behavior, but the voice of the Christ within you, the indwelling, unshakable, eternal Christ nature that knows only dominion, only abundance, only law, only power, and it is this voice, and this voice alone, that can proclaim the kind of prosperity that pierces through appearances and causes substance to reorganize itself according to the rhythm of spiritual truth. The Christ within is not a distant doctrinate, is the living blueprint of divine intelligence encoded into your soul. The aspect of you that was never wounded, never broke, never limited, never small, never subject to the world's conditions. And when you let that part of you speak, when you step aside and silence the fear chatter and ego noise and generational residue, when you open your mouth and let the Christ in you proclaim wealth, not wish for it, not hope for it, not manifest it someday, but proclaim it now, you are no longer a human trying to get spiritual results. You are spirit, commanding a human world. You are law speaking to form. You are light giving instruction to matter. And that is when miracles do not just take up residence in your reality, because the spoken Christ is not denied. Florence taught this with holy fire. I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. And I tell you now, your poverty is a burden, your worry is a burden, your checking, the price tag mindset is a burden, your scarcity-based tongue is a burden, your fear of too much is a burden, and not one of them belongs to the Christ within you. So today, let the Christ speak. Let the Christ in you take the microphone and say, without apology, without hesitation, without tiptoeing around the bigness of God's storehouse, I am wealth in motion. I am divine supply personalized. I am the word made substance. I am the voice of inheritance released. Today is day 11. And you must speak as one who is not merely reciting affirmations, but embodying the divine authority that sent those affirmations into the earth in the first place. You must become the declaration itself, not just the mouth that says it, but the frequency that lives it, breathes it, radiates it, and transmits it through every word, every step, every action, every choice. Because when the Christ within proclaims, angels organize, conditions bend, doors open, people remember your name. Opportunities appear with no logical explanation, and supply gathers itself like a river returning to its source. The Christ does not use soft words. The Christ speaks thunder wrapped in peace. The Christ says, Lazarus, come forth. The Christ says, peace, be still. The Christ says, give them to eat. The Christ says, launch into the deep. And you, yes, you have been trying to whisper your way into wealth. tiptoe into provision, sneak into success, as if you don't deserve it, as if you need someone's permission. But I say now, let that era end. Let the voice of the Christ within you rise like morning over chaos and say aloud, I proclaim my wealth as law. I do not ask, I release. I do not seek, I declare. I do not chase, I command. I am the voice of divine economy. I speak what heaven hears, and heaven moves. Take this now as your spoken charge for day 11. The Christ in me now speaks prosperity into my world. I cancel every inherited fear. I erase every lie I ever believed. I speak as the heir, not the orphan. I declare, I am wealth, and wealth is my word made visible. And as you repeat it, let the inner Christ grow louder than your memories, louder than your newsfeed, louder than the statements from your past, and let that voice be the one that builds the next version of your life, because you are not broke, you are under-commanded. And when the Christ within commands, the world reconfigures. Speak from that place. Speak with that certainty. Speak until every room, every need, every dollar, every contract, every opportunity bows to the voice that cannot be denied, the voice of the Christ within you. On this 12th day, this final day of your spoken covenant, this sacred close of the vow you made to stop entertaining lack with your mouth, to stop dating delay with your declarations, to stop renting your tongue to fear and confusion and cultural programming that exalts hustle and self-doubt and economic fear, as Godson this final day, you must say what you could not say on the first. You must proclaim what the old self could not utter. You must speak what the ego was too afraid to believe. You must now dare to say the sentence that ends all begging and severs you from every memory of financial trauma, every generational spell of lack, every identity that ever called itself less than, every version of you that was still waiting, wondering, tiptoeing, apologizing, hoping, half believing. You must speak as the one who has already crossed over, the one who now holds the keys to the treasury, the one who no longer petitions supply but possesses it. You say, I am wealth, not because you see it yet in full, not because the numbers in the account shout it back to you, not because the world has crowned you with coins, but because you have remembered that wealth is not something you earn, it is something you allow, and you have remembered that the Spirit never called you poor, never called you broke, never called you unstable, never defined you by what was missing, never measured you by your bills or your history or your current conditions. The Spirit called you radiant, the Spirit called you heir, the Spirit called you the beloved custodian of divine substance, and now you say, with trembling power and unshakable fire in your bones, I am wealth. Not, I have it, for even the wicked have it. Not, I chase it, for even fools pursue it. But, I am it, for only the awakened soul knows this truth. I am radiant with supply. I am the manifest mind of divine abundance. I am the living frequency of spiritual provision. I am the echo of Eden made visible. I am the word made rich. And you must not just say this once, you must let it settle, let it swell, let it echo through every cell, every timeline, every past version of you that never felt like enough, never had the words, never knew what power lived in their own voice. Let it speak to the child who watched scarcity steal the joy of their parents. Let it speak to the teenager who made internal vows about money that blocked their flow for years. Let it speak to the adult who turned down dreams because they thought lack had the final word. Let it speak to every place in you that has been silent and give it new speech. You are not the same person who began this journey 12 days ago. The you who started was still negotiating with fear, still wondering if the word could really work, still rehearsing the reasons why maybe it worked for others, but might skip you. But the you who now stands at the 12th gate has learned to wield the tongue like a scepter, has learned to cast down false visions of insufficiency, has learned to sow declarations into the invisible until the invisible bows, has learned to speak when nothing looks ready, and speak until everything obeys, has learned that the word of truth does not ask appearances for permission, it commands appearances to transform. So today, on this final day, let the entire universe hear you say it with no hesitation, no apology, no timid inflection. I am wealth. I am the rhythm of divine prosperity made visible. I am the voice of money's master. I am the word of spiritual substance, clothed in form. And let heaven record your tone. Let the angels mark your name. Let every unclean belief that ever touched your mouth flee. Let every delay that stood between you and your good evaporate in the presence of this unarguable truth. You are no longer trying to become rich, you are returning to your origin. You are no longer asking for increase, you are commanding it by name. You are no longer giving the power to the world, you have taken it back into your own mouth. Today, the cycle is broken. Today, the covenant is sealed. Today, you no longer tolerate lack, not as a thought, not as a feeling, and certainly not as a sentence. For today, your word is wealth. Your tongue is a treasury. Your speech is supply. Your identity is I am. And I tell you now, if you continue to speak from this place, you will never be broke again, not because of luck, not because of chance, not because of who you know, but because of who you finally remembered yourself to be. Speak, speak again, speak always, and do not stop. There is a law as real as gravity and as binding as time itself. A spiritual law that governs the moment after the decree, the sacred silence that follows the spoken word, the holy resting place of faith, and that law is this. Once you have spoken your seed, you must not dig it up. You must not question it. You must not poke at it. You must not speak against it. You must not interrupt its growth with frantic analysis or emotional forecasting, because the word of truth, once sown, is a living seed, and that seed contains within itself the entire future you long to enter, the harvest of increase, the flow of divine supply, the sudden phone call, the unexpected deposit, the contract delivered at midnight, the reversal of debt, the full funding of your dreams, the calm presence of enough. And, just as no farmer goes back into the soil to tug at the roots of a planted crop, so must you refuse to disturb what you have decreed. Do not undo with doubt what you built with declaration. Do not whisper worry after you've shouted faith. Do not ask your bank account if your word is working. Do not call a friend to describe the appearance when you have already spoken the law. Do not give a second sermon to your fear after you've preached a first one to your future. Let the word rest. Let it work. Let it become flesh. Let it organize heaven and earth on your behalf, even if it takes 12 hours or 12 days or 12 dimensions you've never heard of, because your job is not to manage the mystery. Your job is to hold your tone. Your job is to protect the atmosphere you just created. Your job is to let silence do the heavy lifting of faith. Florence said it clearly. Do not dig up in doubt what you planted in faith. Yet I tell you, every time you say, I hope it works, or I wonder what I'll do if it doesn't, or I just don't see how it could happen, you take your spiritual shovel and you dig up the very seed that was already sprouting in the invisible. You delay your harvest not because the seed is weak, but because the speaker becomes double-minded. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. He will not receive. Not because God withholds, but because the vibration is scattered. You cannot bless and curse the same sentence and expect it to bloom. You cannot speak, I am wealth, and then rehearse how broke you feel. You cannot declare, large sums of money come to me under grace in perfect ways, and then get on the phone and say, I don't know how I'm going to make rent. You cannot write the check in faith and then lose sleep over the return. These contradictions are not small, they are spiritual sabotage. They tear holes in your field. They interrupt the rhythm. They disorient the angels. They delay the divine choreography that was already underway. So I charge you now, in the spirit of absolute clarity, to seal your seed with thanksgiving, to speak only once, and then praise 1,000 times, to say, I release it, I rejoice, it is done, and then go on your way as one who no longer checks the clock, no longer refreshes the page, no longer begs for signs, but walks in the complete confidence that what was spoken is now being carried by the invisible, that what was declared is now being orchestrated by the angels, that what was affirmed is now finding doors to walk through, and people to use, and moments to invade, and miracles to unfold. Let the word be the last thing you say about it. Do not negotiate with shadows. Do not update people who don't carry faith. Do not rehearse old facts. Do not water it with worry. Do not touch it with trembling. Let the seed remain buried in divine soil, wrapped in spiritual fire, covered in the oil of expectancy. Praise. Wait. Smile. Rest. Let the word do what only the word can do. For once the truth is spoken, it can never return void. It must accomplish the thing for which it was sent. So speak it once, then shut the gate, and let it grow. There is no such thing as a one-time word. There is no such thing as a casual decree. There is no such thing as a spiritual life built on occasional affirmation. The law is rhythm. The power is in repetition. The secret is in sustained vibration. And just as the earth spins in steady rotation, just as the sun rises by pattern, just as breath flows in and out without effort, so too must your spoken word become your rhythm, your repetition, your non-negotiable soundtrack of wealth, of increase, of spiritual certainty, not uttered once in a moment of hope and then forgotten in a tide of anxiety, but spoken as breath is spoken, as pulse beats, as oceans move again and again and again, until the very cells of your body obey the new rhythm, until your nervous system walks in wealth as its default, until your atmosphere becomes too familiar with truth to let in the sound of lack again. You do not build a body by lifting one weight. You do not master the violin by plucking one string. You do not form wealth in your world by saying it once and then wondering why you still feel broke. No, this is the life of law. This is the rhythm of spiritual mastery. This is not therapy. This is architecture. And your words are bricks. Every declaration is a placement. Every repetition is reinforcement. Every morning you wake and say, I am wealth. I am divine supply in motion. I am a voice that opens vaults, is not a sentimental exercise. It is a metaphysical blueprint, a structural manifestation, an energetic scaffolding around your future. So I ask you now, with boldness and love, what is your daily structure? Do you wake and scroll, or do you wake and speak? Do you rehearse the news, or do you rehearse your name in heaven? Do you confess what's visible, or do you decree what's true? I say, rise early and decree. At midday, reaffirm your throne. At night, silence the outer world and remind your soul who speaks last. Morning, midday, evening. Like Daniel, who prayed 3 times a day not to beg, not to ask, but to hold alignment with the unseen. This is not superstition, it is synchronization. It is alignment with heaven's code, and you must decide today. Will you let your tongue drift according to emotion, or will you train it to dance in divine rhythm? Florence Scovel Shinn did not speak haphazardly. She crafted words like spells. She wrote affirmations as incantations of faith, as anchors of vibration, as carriers of wealth in seed form. And she repeated them again and again and again, until reality had no choice but to mirror the rhythm of her word. So I say unto you now, make a list. Write your declarations on mirrors, in journals, in your car, on your phone. Whisper them while walking. Shout them in the shower. Declare them over meals. Speak them while cooking, cleaning, creating. Let your voice replace the internal critic. Let your declarations be louder than your doubt. And let every cell in your body become a cathedral of repetition, where divine truth is not something you try but something you live in, bathe in, breathe in, and command with every breath you speak. The truth is this: your future is a pattern, your supply is a rhythm, your breakthrough is an echo, and when your voice becomes consistent, reality becomes obedient. So do not chase signs, become the signal. Do not wait for a shift, become the source. And do not ever again let a day pass where you do not train your tongue in wealth, train your breath in dominion, train your body in divine rhythm. For when rhythm becomes religion, and repetition becomes your revelation, the world cannot help but conform to the sound that shapes it. And the sound is you, the word is you, the frequency is you. The wealth is already waiting, and it is listening for its rhythm. When the rhythm is established, when the word has been spoken not once in emotional heat but again and again in spiritual alignment, when your declarations have carved out new space in the unseen, and your tongue has struck like lightning against the dark cloud of old patterns, something begins to shift, not in theory, not in wishful thinking, but in substance, in circumstance, in the divine choreography of coincidence, arrangement, and invisible orchestration. For the law is not mocked, and every word you have spoken in faith, especially the ones spoken through trembling lips and shaking hands, has gone out as a seed, as a command, as a living decree, and it cannot return void. It cannot fade into silence. It must return in form, in favor, in the tangible fragrance of provision made manifest. And so I ask you now, what do you expect to happen next? Will you speak with authority and then analyze the weather? Will you declare supply and then search your mailbox with doubt? Or will you shift into supernatural expectation, into holy surveillance, into alertness not of worry, but of readiness? For the signs do not always come as bank alerts or checks in envelopes. Sometimes they come as sudden peace, a conversation with a stranger, a dream that opens a door, a canceled bill, a new invitation, a sentence overheard on the street, a memory you suddenly recall, a forgotten connection suddenly revived, and in all of these the answer, the fulfillment, the whisper of God saying, "I heard you the first time. I was only waiting for you to believe it long enough to receive it." The signs may not look like you imagined, but they are sure. The symbols may not follow your logic, but they follow the law. And the supply, though delayed by doubt, rushes in like a dam broken by faith. You may see the number 888 on receipts and clocks and license plates. You may dream of water, of gold, of open doors. You may notice strangers offer help for no reason. You may feel a sudden urge to check an old email or walk into a room you never considered. Do not dismiss these. The law speaks symbolically before it speaks literally. Heaven delivers through sign before it delivers through substance. It is your job not to wait passively, but to watch actively, not to question the form, but to receive the flow, not to reduce your faith to logic, but to let your declarations lift you into divine pattern recognition. And when it comes, when the money, the opportunity, the provision, the open door appears, don't you dare call it luck. Don't you dare say it's coincidence. Don't you dare downplay the power of the word that called it forth. Instead, bless it, name it. Say, "This is the fruit of my word. This is the harvest of my rhythm. This is the answer my declarations drew down from spirit." And praise. Praise before the deposit. Praise after the transfer. Praise when the check is mailed. Praise when the client calls. Praise when the deal closes. Praise when the refund arrives. Praise when the refund is delayed, because you know another channel is opening. For praise is the posture of permanent receivership. Let this be the rule of your life from this day forward. I do not watch the world to know what's possible, I watch the word. I do not monitor conditions to measure my wealth. I measure my speech. I do not panic when things look still. I prepare when spirit says move. And most of all, I never stop speaking as one who is already supplied. For the signs will follow. The symbols will unfold. And supernatural supply will do what it always does. Obey the voice that speaks in rhythm, in truth, and in unwavering dominion. You must understand that the law is no respecter of persons. It does not respond to desperation, to effort, to drama, or even to good intentions. It responds only to alignment. And when that alignment is vocalized with authority, repeated with rhythm, and sustained without sabotage, the law moves. But what you must also prepare for, beloved, is the testing of your tongue, the echo of your old patterns, the whisper of your past speech, returning like ghosts, demanding to be resurrected, because no transformation comes without temptation. And every new dimension you speak into being will call forth one last shadow of the old to see if you still want it, to test if you truly meant what you said, to offer you one final chance to cancel the blessing with complaint, to curse the miracle with murmuring, to question the harvest with panic, before it has had time to fully emerge from the invisible soil where your words have planted it. And so it is that many declare with fire on day 1, with consistency on day 3, with fatigue on day 7, and with doubt on day 10, realizing that it was never the enemy outside, never the delay, never the economy, never the lack of support that slowed their harvest. It was the snapback, the recoil of the old speech, the subtle return to statements like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, or, I guess this stuff only works for others, or, I tried, but nothing's changed. And in that moment, in those casual betrayals of your own spoken seed, you have uprooted what was already breaking through the surface. You have dismissed the angel that was already dispatched. You have called your harvest counterfeit because it did not arrive dressed in your prediction. But listen, because this is where the testimonies matter, not the ones told on mountaintops, but the ones whispered in valleys, the ones that began in silence, in repetition, in resistance, and yet persisted. The woman who wrote the sentence on a mirror and spoke it every morning while her husband mocked Herod, who received an inheritance 2 days after the 12th day. The man who declared divine supply while sleeping on a friend's couch, who resisted the temptation to declare what he saw, and instead clung to what he knew, and who was hired by a company that hadn't even posted the job. The mother who tithed on faith, who wrote thank you notes for checks not yet received, who canceled fear with praise, and who watched medical bills vanish in ways no administrator could explain. And yes, there are those who did not see the harvest by day 12, not because the law failed, but because the old tongue was still present. They declared abundance in the morning and discussed scarcity at lunch. They said, I am rich aloud, but whispered, I hope this works, in thought. And the law, holy and impartial, obeyed both. This is not punishment, it is perfection. For your life will always agree with your dominant declaration, not your momentary affirmation. Your world is not shaped by the loudest word, it is shaped by the most repeated one. And if your faith is inconsistent, your harvest will be confused. If your declaration is bold but your doubt is rehearsed, you will cancel out the very thing you say you're calling in. So, I say again, return to your rhythm. When in doubt, speak. When weary, speak. When no evidence appears, speak. When everything seems frozen, speak. When the bills stack and the calls come, and the delay tempts you to spiral, speak. For every testimony that arrives by miracle has one common thread. They did not stop declaring. They did not speak by sight, they spoke by spirit. They did not panic when the old emotion rose, they praised through it. They did not measure the law. By the clock they measured it, by the clarity of their own word. And so their good came sometimes suddenly, sometimes subtly, but always certainly. Let this be your vow. I do not snap back, I speak forward. I do not revisit what I've buried, I water what I've planted. I do not cancel with fear what I initiated with faith. My declarations are not trials, they are treaties. My word is not a test, it is a transaction. I speak as one who has, not one who hopes. And the law, immutable and faithful, responds not to my need, not to my timeline, not to my emotion, but to my word, always, without fail, forever. Now listen closely, for this is the moment that changes the air around you, that draws a line in the sand, not of time but of being. For the 12th day was never the finish, Linayat was the threshold, the sacred doorway into a completely new identity. And this is the truth the ego will resist, that the past will try to resurrect, that logic will question, and fear will try to delay. That you, beloved, are not the same one who began this journey. Because you have spoken too much truth to be who you were. You have declared too much abundance to remain in the old lack. You have praised too consistently to still be under the dominion of circumstance. You have aligned your tongue with divine vibration too many times to still live in the shadow of contradiction. And though the mirror may still reflect a version of you that seems familiar, and though the balance in your account may not yet scream prosperity, and though the outer world may still whisper remnants of former patterns, I tell you now by divine law and sacred witness your identity has changed, and what the world calls delay is only the world adjusting to the new you that your word has already decreed. For when you declare for 12 days in divine rhythm, when you hold your spiritual sentence in the atmosphere like a scepter, when you speak not from desperation but from dominion, not from need but from knowing, not from fear but from faith, you are not performing a ritual. You are reshaping your reality from the inside out. You are remapping the energetic grid of your own consciousness. You are replacing the vibration of lack with the signature of wealth. You are canceling the old narrative that said you were always behind, unchosen, under pressure, scraping to survive. And you are replacing it with the eternal truth that you are crowned in the spirit, seated in heavenly places, supplied in every dimension, and funded not by man's economy but by God's inexhaustible storehouse of good. And the shift is not just in what you say, but in how you now exist. For to speak wealth is to become wealth. To declare provision is to carry provision in your very essence. And to say, I am rich, with rhythm and revelation, is to no longer seek supply outside of you, but to recognize that you are the source through which divine substance expresses. And now the 13th day arrives not marked by a number on the calendar but by a consciousness that has crossed over. A moment when you no longer need to repeat the words to believe them, because they have become part of your inner language, your spiritual bloodstream, your subconscious architecture, and the air around you knows it, and the people around you feel it, and the future you have spoken begins to rise like incense from the altar of your mouth, shaping opportunities, rearranging circumstances, magnetizing people, attracting channels, confirming that yes, this is no longer rehearsal, this is release. So declare with me now, not as one who is hoping for change, not as one who is watching for signs, not as one who is testing spiritual law like a child unsure of fire, but as one who knows, as one who has, as one who has walked through the fire and come out unburned, refined, crowned, confirmed. I am no longer broken mind, word, or spirit. I am no longer aligned with lack, permission, or delay. I am no longer trying to believe I have become the belief. I am wealth. I am radiance. I am a walking treasury of truth. My presence carries prosperity. My voice funds futures. My words open vaults. My identity is supply. And let that be the seal upon your soul. Let no man talk you out of it. Let no invoice scare you out of it. Let no appearance contradict it. Let no old pattern steal it. For it has been spoken, it is done. And now, it is so. And now, beloved, comes the most dangerous part of any spiritual activation, the moment after the fire has fallen, when the skies are still glowing from all that has been spoken, when your spirit has been fed, your tongue has been trained, your truth has been reinforced through 12 sacred days and one holy awakening. But the mind will still try to return to the patterns of the former prison. The body will still try to obey the old routines of fear. The world may still speak in the dialect of debt. And it is here, in this fragile, beautiful, holy threshold, that I charge you. Walk as one who already has. Move as one who already holds. Declare as one who no longer waits but welcomes. And live as one whose very presence is a testimony of divine provision. For heaven cannot multiply what you continue to mourn, and spiritual law cannot fulfill what you keep revising with words of doubt, delay, or disbelief. So your posture now must match your prophecy. Your tone must match your treasure, and your faith must no longer wobble like a beggar's bowl, but stand like a royal decree issued from the courts of the Most High. I charge you not to wait for the delivery to dress in gratitude, not to wait for the money to buy the wrapping paper, not to wait for the job to walk in excellence, not to wait for the bank to walk in wealth, but to move now, to behave now, to spend now, in spirit, to sow now, to thank now, to speak now, and to expect now as if every word from your mouth has already been signed in gold in the treasury of the unseen, and you are simply receiving the visible shipment of what has long been authorized in the atmosphere. For the oil in your lamp has not run out, and the flour in your jar is not empty, and the provision of the Lord is not pendent, is permanent. And the only question left is whether you will live like a mailbox of miracles or a mouthpiece of mourning. I tell you this, wrap the gifts before they arrive, bless the table before the feast is served, sweep the porch before the doorbell rings, Clear the bank account of fear and overdraft shame, and prepare the account of praise, because divine deposits do not follow desperation. They follow decree, they follow expectation, they follow identity. They follow the soul that walks with the head lifted high, the voice unwavering, the stride unapologetic, the hands unclenched and open to receive not just money, but mastery, not just provision, but position, not just answers, but authority, not just increase, but inheritance. And the walk of a billionaire in spirit is not stiff with pride, nor heavy with pressure, nor silent with secrecy. It is rhythmic with revelation, fluid with faith, and crowned with the consciousness that nothing can be withheld from the one who has become one with the Word. For the Word itself is wealth, and the wealth is in the walking out of what you already spoke. So walk now, not as one who is still pleading with heaven, but as one who is partnered with heaven. Walk now, not as one testing the waters of belief, but as one who has been baptized in the fire of truth. Walk now, not as a beggar rehearsing requests, but as a speaker of substance who understands that once the word is given, once the law is spoken, once the decree is made, once the sentence has flown, once the voice has pierced, the veil there is nothing left to prove, nothing left to wait for, and nothing left to fear. There is only walking, only welcoming, only wealth unfolding beneath your feet. Walk, child of wealth. Walk, son of the kingdom. Walk, daughter of dominion. Walk like the air obeys you. Walk like the angels respond to your whisper. Walk like the storehouses open on command. Walk like the supply is scripted in your soul. Walk like you are the treasury. Walk like you are the seed and the harvest. Walk like you have already won. Walk like you were never broke to begin with. Walk, and don't look back. And now we seal it. Not with striving, not with strategy, not with strain, but with the sacred sound of settled speech, the kind of speech that no longer negotiates with fear, the kind of speech that no longer leans on logic, the kind of speech that no longer asks permission from the material world, but stands in the full spiritual stature of one who knows that their word is power, their voice is placement, their decree is destiny, and their sentence is not just sound but structure, not just noise but nourishment, not just language but law. For when you have spoken under divine authority, when you have declared from the throne room of the soul, when your tongue has become the scepter and your mouth has become the gate of heaven, there is nothing left to chase, only everything left to receive. So now, I ask you to breathe deep, slow, and holy, and let this final rhythm wash over your heart. For I do not want you to merely hear it, I want you to become it, I want you to speak it aloud. Not once, but as many times as your soul requires, until the world inside you and the world around you bow to the voice of divine wealth within you. Until every lie you ever believed about money crumbles under the weight of this new truth. Until lack loses your address and poverty forgets your name. Until you walk like Eden is your inheritance, and overflow is your atmosphere. Until you no longer remember what it felt like to fear a bill, or dread a balance, or question your right to be supplied. So open your mouth now, and let these final words be your re-entry into wealth. I walk in supernatural provision. I am not hoping, I am holding. I am not begging, I am building. I am not lacking, I am lavished. My wealth is not coming, it has arrived. My words are not weak, they are law. I do not check the world, I check my word. I do not echo appearances, I echo abundance. I do not wait for confirmation, I am the confirmation. I do not try, I decree. I do not speak as one in delay, I speak as one in dominion. I do not ask, I authorize. I do not budget fear, I broadcast faith. I do not whisper scarcity, I proclaim surplus. I do not repeat the past, I rewire the future. Say it again, and say it like you mean it. I walk in supernatural provision. And now, dear listener, dear speaker of truth, dear agent of divine economy, I invite you softly but clearly to stay in this vibration with me. Subscribe if your soul says yes. Comment below and write it in stone. I walk in supernatural provision. Come back to this space every time the world tries to drag you back into the illusion of lack. Return here when the dust of delay tries to cloud your sight. And above all, never forget this truth. Your words are your wand. Use them to call forth Eden.